are very likely living an unknowingly unethical life. Moreover, you may even be evil, and so am I. Welcome to the channel, guys. I am Clash with Ash. I'm glad to have you here. Today's going to be a very interesting and challenging conversation. I encourage you guys to keep an open mind. Let's pretend you're walking down a beautiful rural road, right? Just enjoying the view. Maybe you're on the way to your partner's house or something like that, right? And then you see this. You see a child drowning. You see a child drowning in a little lake next to you. What are you going to do, right? You have brand new clothes on, brand new shoes. No one else is in the area. What are you going to do? Obviously, you're going to go save the child. You are going to save the child because you're a decent human being. Doesn't even make you that extraordinary of a human being to save a child's life that's drowning in the water. Okay, so as long as you can agree with that, then maybe you'll agree with me at the end of this video that maybe you could be doing better. So today we're going to talk about an essay that changed my life, okay? It was written by one of the more famous philosophers. He is a professor of bioethics at Princeton. It is Peter Singer. He wrote this all the way back in 1971, and it may be the most important essay ever written in ethics. The paper is called Famine, Affluence, and Morality, okay? Now, two quick disclaimers before we jump into what this all means, right? Number one is, I don't agree with everything that Peter Singer has ever said. I disagree with a lot of what he said. But in today's society, I think a lot of people are way too quick to discount everything somebody says just because they don't agree with everything somebody says or believes. Number two disclaimer is what we're talking about right now is not, I repeat, is not apolitical or B, any sort of wealth redistribution or anything like that. So if your knee-jerk reaction is, oh my God, this is a communism or Marxism or something like that, you're missing the point completely. Okay, completely. All right, let's jump into it here. So we're going to get some help from Jeffrey Kaplan, who is a PhD, assistant professor of philosophy at the University of North Carolina. I love his YouTube channel. We're going to get some help from him when we kind of dive into what this really means. But I wanted to start with the proximity argument going back to that drowning child. So the drowning child, obviously we can all agree we should help out. We're right there. We have the means. It's a mild inconvenience getting our clothes wet to help and save this child's life, okay? It makes no moral difference whether the person I can help is a neighbor's child, 10 yards away from me, or a Bengali whose name I have never known 10,000 miles away from me. From a moral point of view, it requires us to look beyond the interests of our own society, beyond our own luxuries, our frivolous needs. Previously, this may not have been feasible, but it's feasible now. Basically, technology, right? Now we have the news. We know who needs help, and we also have mechanisms to help these individuals, okay? And again, we're not talking, I want to be very clear here. We're not talking about people who are just poor, even though that's great to do as well. In terms of the moral obligation to help people, the moral obligation to help others, it's others who are dying. Others who are in perilous need right now. Again, this is not people who, could use a few dollars to buy, whatever the heck, This is not a GoFundMe. This is somebody is dying imminently. Someone's in pain, okay? Let's go ahead and get a little bit of help here this is kind of the thesis, and then we're going to get back to the argument, then we're going to get back to how it changed my life, okay? So here is Jeffrey Kaplan explaining kind of the thesis here.
Here's what Singer says. Because giving money is regarded as an act of charity, it is not thought that there is anything wrong with not giving. The charitable man, or if we want, because this was written in 1972, we can say the charitable person. The charitable person may be praised, but the person who is not charitable is not condemned. People do not feel in any way ashamed or guilty about spending money on new clothes or a new car instead of giving it to famine relief. Indeed, the alternative does not occur to them. What's the alternative? The alternative is not getting those new clothes and not getting that new car, and instead taking that money that you would have spent on new clothes and just, wearing your old clothes and taking that money and giving it to an organization that will help people, that will save people who are dying of famine. Right? That possibility, the possibility of not spending money on luxuries, does not occur to most people or to virtually anyone. This way of looking at the matter cannot be justified. This way of looking at the matter is the way that we all look at the matter. That is, we think that giving money to famine relief is supererogatory. It's nice. It's an extra thing. That cannot be justified. The only thing, according to Singer, that can be justified, and we're going to get to the argument for this conclusion, the only thing that can be justified is the way of thinking where you think that giving to famine relief instead of buying new clothes or a new car or whatever, giving to famine relief is obligatory. That's the only way of thinking that can be justified. The upshot or the punchline is this. If you don't give to famine relief, Singer thinks, you've done something wrong. You've done something evil, bad.
So there you have it, right? So that's the whole argument, right? If you are using your money, if you're not pausing before you buy, let's say, first of all, I'm evil. First of all, it changed the way I live my life, but not this extreme, you know? So guilty as charged. I'm not here on my high horse or my pedestal at all, guys, okay? First and foremost, I just bought my son a bunch of basketball cards in a binder and binder things to put them in, or sleeves, excuse me, to put the cards in, right? It was like $70. Those things aren't cheap. But I could have saved lives with that money. Just going through the exercise of knowing what I could have done instead has been beneficial and transformative to myself in my life. I give so much more. And again, this is not about me. I don't want to freaking pat on the back at all, right? Even if it's selfish altruism, you're still going to feel good about yourself. At the end of the day, I've chosen a charity. I'm going to cut to it really quickly here, but there's way more on this. I've chosen against malaria. Those of you who know my second channel, we donate a lot to this charity. We talk about this charity a lot. We can save somebody's life in sub-Saharan Africa who is dying of malaria. 400,000 people die every year. It's the cheapest way to save somebody's life. You can buy an insecticide mosquito net, incredibly effective, by the way. It doesn't sound like much, an insecticide mosquito net, that's it. You can buy one for around $1.50. And these things really do save lives. This is the cheapest way that you could save somebody's life. And most of these people who die, 400,000 every year, are children. I could save a child's life. Instead of buying that binder of basketball cards for my son, which was great, we're going to enjoy them, and there's nothing wrong with that inherently. Peter Singer would say there is. But I could have instead saved a few lives with that $70. Instead of buying an in-app purchase on my mobile game, I could instead give to a charity, by the way, like perfect 10 out of 10 on Watchdog ratings on this charity as well, right? Because you need to have that trust. I'm making a choice right there. I am. I'm making a choice when I'm not spending my extra money beyond the necessities, beyond that stuff, right? And if you're not in position to give, I understand, right? If you're struggling, I understand. It's not about you, if that's the case, right? It's about people who are incredibly wealthy or just well off that decide to continue to buy luxuries and luxuries and luxuries, ironically, that are not going to lead to long-term happiness. They're not. But you know what will lead to long-term happiness? Helping others, saving people's lives. And again, this is not wealth redistribution. Capitalism is great for this. It allows people to be successful and help more people, right? Help more people whose lives are really like in jeopardy, in imminent jeopardy. Again, in imminent jeopardy, you know? Let's keep going. So guys, Jeffrey explains it way better than I'm about to, but in interest of time and your time, I want to go through the main points of the argument here. Number one is, if it is in our power to prevent something very bad, someone dying, from happening, without severely sacrificing anything of moral significance, then we must morally do it. And again here, this doesn't mean you can't. Moral significance is taking care of your family, your loved ones, your children, okay? It's not saying we can't do that, okay? Number two, hunger, disease, and other sources of suffering, disability, and death are very bad, okay? We agree with that. Number three, the luxuries on which we spend money are not of moral significance, okay? Yeah, I don't need the basketball cards downstairs, right? I don't need the in-app purchase for $100 on my mobile game, right? 4, by donating money to relief agencies like Oxfam, pick your favorite relief agency out there, we could prevent hunger, disease, and other sources of suffering, disability, and death. Therefore, we must morally, donate the money that we spend on luxuries to relief agencies. Well, you know what? This is why I asked you guys at the top of the video to try to keep an open mind here. Because no one likes a stupid YouTuber calling them evil at the beginning of a video, right? And I think that innately, we all have that knee-jerk reaction like, no, a lot of excuses. Well, listen, man, I don't have a lot of disposable income. It takes $1.50 to buy insecticide mosquito net, you know? Well, I don't believe, and I work hard for my money. I deserve this money. I deserve it. Well, yes, you do. And you have a choice of how you want to use it. And that's absolutely your choice. And I'm not taking that away from you at all. However, according to Peter Singer, in this argument, which really, again, made a profound impact on my life personally, I hesitated, changing my life at first because of this. And I made all the excuses in the book. And then I just decided to ignore it. You know, okay, I know this, whatever. Yeah, whatever, man. Let the billionaires, let the governments handle this crap. Don't we already pay taxes that goes to millions of people who are, come on, man. But then you think about it, and the problem still exists. The drowning child still exists. There are still people who can make an impact. Now, Peter Singer, he gives basically, let's hear from Jeffrey Kaplan here in terms of what ought we to do then? What ought we to do as a sound, moral, ethical person?
Okay, a few ending notes. One, how much do we have to give? I mean, it's one thing to give up, 1 cup of coffee, right? Made at a fancy coffee place, right? But do I have to give up all the coffee that I might ever buy? Do I have to never buy coffee and never get a new car and never get new clothes? Am I allowed no luxuries at all? Do I have to give away so much of my money that I'm reduced to the level of the person who's suffering from this famine or near to that level? Singer says, maybe yes. He considers 2 versions of premise 1, right? And this is more specific and it's in the paper. I think it happens on, where does it happen? It happens on page 231. He considers 2 versions of premise 1, a stronger principle and a weaker principle. And this is the weaker one, right? According to the weaker principle, you just have to give up some luxuries. You don't have to reduce yourself all the way down to the level that's near equivalent to the people that you're saving.
So, I follow that one. I follow that one. Listen, is it perfect? No. Is it a step in the right direction? Yes. I probably used to give an infinitesimal amount of my income to charity. Maybe I would give a few $100s, maybe $1,000 a year or something like that, And it felt good when I did it, but I could have given a lot more, And I started to change my ways the last 3 or 4 years. And I feel so much better as a person. I feel so much more, I guess, the richness that I get out of giving back to people who really eminently need it. Nothing can replace that, When I'm on my deathbed, I'm certainly not going to care about whatever, buying a bundle of gems for $100 in the game that I play on my device. What I will care about is saving lives and making a positive impact in the world with the good fortune that I was, lucky enough to have, Now listen, guys, Jeffrey goes on to say that according to Peter Singer, you should go extreme and give everything you can while still being able to support your family, meaning a roof over their head, the basic needs, food, clothes, and that's about it. Of course, I'm not that extreme, and I'm not telling you guys how to live, right? All jokes at the beginning of the video about how evil everybody is aside, I'm not sitting here, and nor do I actually, I would ever tell somebody what they ought to do with their hard-earned money. So that's not my job. My job is to challenge your beliefs, to challenge what you think matters, and to entertain new ideas that might lead to more happiness in your lives and others' lives around you or thousands and thousands of miles away from you. Guys, I love you. Thank you so much for watching this video. It's quite different for me, as you can probably tell. Massive shout out to Jeffrey Kaplan. I will link his video. I would love to maybe have him on the channel sometime. This is a challenging topic, And I'm just so happy I made this video already, you know, even if it results in a few of you guys saying, you know what, this is a good argument. It really is. On face value, it is good. There's a lot of different conversations that could stem from this one. One of the most popular criticisms is by Daniel Ben-Ami, and he says that essentially treating the symptom is not going to fix the problem. Helping one individual who really needs it is not going to alleviate the need systematically. It's not going to bring millions of people out of poverty, which really is how you can generate, kind of like China did, right? How you can generate massive change on a massive level. And while I absolutely agree with that, it doesn't mean that if somebody's dying, you shouldn't help them right now. That's not going to make anybody feel better who's literally in need right this second. And anyway, guys, I'm a little bit rambly at the end of the video, but much love. Thank you so much for watching. And as always, take care, guys.